Well, look at that. It's Friday already. It's October 11th, 8:05 in the morning here in Western Iowa. Hope you are having an amazing day. And the reason why I'm starting with a comment from a couple days ago is because we have to revisit this. So, this comment came in, like I said, a couple days ago from XAEAXAEA6280, his girlfriend flying into Colorado in like 2 weeks. And yesterday I told him, I said, it looks pretty good. You know, we have a system coming in like on the 19th, but after that looks, well, there's been a change. Just real quick, I just want to show you. I've got it zoomed in here on the 22nd, I believe. And oh my goodness, I forgot. Hang on, let me move this. There we go. This is Colorado. This is the 22nd. And so another system behind the other system moving in. And so your girlfriend might run into a little bit of weather depending on the date. Now it clears quickly after the 22nd. So, but there is another system behind the system on the 19th now on the GFS. This is part of the problem of going out a couple weeks. The GFS can sometimes go back and forth, but just be aware, you know, it's going to be one of those things. Well, that weatherman told me. This is how we get those bad reputations. You know, forecasts going too far out can be uncertain at times. All right, here's the watches and warnings for this morning. So this is pretty spot on. We have red flag warning for parts of Wyoming, like a small part of Wyoming. So we got fire danger here from wind and dryness. Same for up there in Michigan with the wind cranking. And then we have some freeze warnings. So Pennsylvania mainly, Pittsburgh and into central PA, and also for West Virginia, parts of Virginia, and a little bit of Maryland with freezing temperatures this morning and a little bit of coastal flooding there in Florida. So let's get into the weather spotlight, because it was spectacular last night. About 10 miles from me is Prairie Rose State Park. And looking off to the north and the northeast, this is what I saw last night about, I want to say 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock. And it was visible with the naked eye, which I've never seen such a great show in my life. So this was one. So I have the Pixel 8 Pro, and when you put it in astro mode, it shoots for 4 minutes, and it gathers in a bunch of images, and it cranks out an image, but it also cranks out a 1 second, 4-minute time lapse. So this is that. And, you know, bright enough to be reflecting off the lake. Pretty spectacular. Not to be outdone. Looking straight west, you can see, you know, it's Prairie Rose State Park. And I don't know about you, but that looks like that color is kind of prairie rose. Anyway, it was really beautiful last night on the lake. I'm glad I went. And I'm glad I got these pictures, because who knows, the next time we see a show like this could be another 11 years. Or the way the sun is cranking out solar flares could be next week. But we'll show them to you. I mean, I know your feed on Facebook and everywhere else is full of these pictures. But I thought since the Pixel throws out a little time lapse, that maybe I'd show you something a little bit different than what you're seeing on your Facebook feed. All right, let's get into the weather, shall we? All right, your surface for today looks like this. Showers for Florida. And up in the northeast, we got some rain coming down. And we do have a cold front moving through the upper Midwest and also the northern plains. So it's finally going to cool us off here, but not till tomorrow, because I'm in Iowa. And you can see on this map, the front is not through Iowa yet. So we're going to be in the mid-80s today, which is well above average. In fact, how far above average is it? I'm glad you asked. It's 25 degrees above average today. Here in Iowa, parts of Nebraska, into Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, 20 degrees above average. Texas, they're tired of the heat, 15 to 20 degrees above average. And much of the West is 5 to 10 degrees above average, even 15. So warm pretty much everywhere, close to average or slightly below for North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And so these highs look like this. So 70s for Georgia and Florida, 70s and 80s. But then back in Texas, it's mid 90s, low 90s even for Kansas, mid 80s here in Iowa. But north of the front, much better, 60s and 70s for Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and also, closer to fall like up there in the Northeast with temperatures, a lot of 60s on that map from Pennsylvania, New York, into New England and Maine. So very nice. The West is still warm. It's not supposed to be 75 degrees in Portland this time of year, but there you are. So enjoy, because that's going to change, and we'll show that to you. Still hot in the desert Southwest, over 100, Phoenix and Tucson. Lows tomorrow morning, desert Southwest, 70s to near 80 to start the day. A lot of 60s in Texas, but even some 50s here. So a little bit refreshingly cool in the morning. So, the warmer spots are easier to pick out. So, like Oklahoma into Kansas, still some 60s for lows, but then it's a lot of 50s for lows. So not too bad, but not that crisp fall air that you have there in, say, West Virginia. We got 30s. Same with regular Virginia. And then Pennsylvania into New York, 30s and 40s. Also for the northern plains, into Montana, which is the northern plains, except for the northwestern part of the state. And then into the Pacific Northwest, a lot of 40s, some 30s, and Portland at 51, the warm spot. So there you go. Refreshingly cool start for most tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's surface looks like this. Maybe some showers for the Great Lakes and for Florida, and a little bit of rain, maybe Northern California, Southern Oregon. Temperatures cooling off a little bit, upper Midwest, but warming back up for the northern plains. And the central plains, that's it's baking there. So central plains into the Midwest, temperatures still 20, 25 degrees above average. Just, ridiculous, but we're going to fix it. All right, highs tomorrow look like this. Still 90s for Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, into Missouri, even Louisiana, but 70s for Georgia, Mid-Atlantic, and some 60s up there in the Northeast and the Great Lakes, and still in the 70s for a lot of the Pacific Northwest, even into like the Intermountain West, like Nevada, a lot of 70s here, into Utah as well. Surface on Sunday, little system moving through the Great Lakes, cooling things off and bringing some rain and some snow. Upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, or at least mixed in snow, if not actual snow. And then some showers still hanging in Florida. And, that cold front making further progress through the Midwest, so cooling off, and a little bit of rain up there in the Pacific Northwest. The anomaly temperatures on Sunday, much cooler for Great Lakes into the Northeast and much of the Midwest. So if you're counting Iowa's Midwest, which it is, temperatures near average. Minnesota below average into Wisconsin, and kind of much below average. Well, 10 to 15 degrees below average. New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts into Maine. And those highs look like this. So if you're 15 degrees below average in upstate New York, you're in the 50s and some 40s here. If you're near average for Iowa, you're in the mid 60s, 50s for Minnesota and into Wisconsin with some 40s in there, 50s for North Dakota, South Dakota, but warmer further to the west, and of course still 90s for Texas on Sunday. I'm so sorry. I really am. I apologize. 101 for Phoenix on Sunday. All right, let's take a look at the GFS, and here is that snowstorm on the 22nd. See it moving right in to Colorado. So I don't know. I hope your girlfriend's flying in on the 23rd or 4th. If she's flying in on the 22nd, which would have been about 2 weeks right from when you asked your question, she might be running into some problems here. But again, it was different on yesterday's run, and it may be different on tomorrow's run. So we'll keep you posted. So there you go. So just taking a quick look at the long range. I can make it move pretty fast. Look at this at the end, though. Just the spoiler alert. Huge low. Cold temperatures all the way down through Kansas. So big changes coming. This is the 27th of October. So a big cool off for the west and especially the central part of the country if this comes true. But let's start at the beginning. So here's today. Quiet as we go through the weekend, and then Sunday maybe some showers for the Great Lakes, and the cooler air moving into the Dakotas and to Minnesota. And again, we're going to get our cool off here on Sunday as well in parts of the Midwest. So that's going to be nice. For our forecast in western Iowa, we have 60s on Sunday, widespread frost Monday morning, 60s on Monday, and then probably a hard freeze Tuesday morning. So that's how our forecast looks. And our average first freeze is right about this time of year. So right on time, even though it's been warm, things are going to right themselves. So this is Tuesday now, almost Tuesday, and we see some cold air moving into the Great Lakes, into the Midwest, into the Northeast. I mean, not a lot of rain or snow on this forecast until we get later into like middle of next week. We see some decent rains coming into Oregon, Northern California, but still on the quiet side. Now watch this. We have the system, pretty good system moving into the Northwest. Ahead of that, we have strong southerly winds into the plains. So when we get into late next week, we're going to heat back up on the plains, which we'll show you later with our anomaly temperatures. So warm and windy on the plains coming up next week. And we haven't had much rain in the last month. And we're not expecting much rain in the next week. So this could be another bout of high fire danger for the plains as we get into middle and later next week. But a nice cool off for the Pacific Northwest with this system, bringing in some cooler air, some snow in the Cascades of Oregon and Washington. This is Thursday. And as we go through the forecast, maybe a few showers here with a front that's going to be forming from this low. So we see our pieces of energy coming off the low, diving into the Rockies. Our friend's girlfriend going into the Rockies, he said after the 19th, but, it looks like a pretty good snowstorm for Colorado on the 19th. A cold front moving through the plains. Also on the 19th, that colder air settling in behind it. And then as we get into, there's that cold front. So that's a pretty well-defined cold front. And that cold air dipping down into Iowa and even Nebraska. But as we go through, this is next weekend, Sunday, the 20th. That low goes off to the east. And then we have another piece of energy diving southward. That's the 22nd into Colorado. Some more snow and even a severe weather outbreak. Looks like possible later in the month as we get into Wednesday. Why does it jump around on me like that? And then later, so there's the second system. And then as we get into the 25th, look at that snowstorm for the northern plains. Very cold, very cold. Cold air spilling southward into the plains with, probably below freezing temperatures, at least at night, all the way down into Kansas. And very windy with that cold air rushing in out of Canada as we get to the 27th. So that's a couple weeks away. So big changes coming, and I'm ready for it. Now, keep in mind, as we've been saying, the further we get out in the forecast, the less certainty we have, but certainly the trends, I think, are something to watch. I think we're going to see a pattern change. So get ready for it. Fall is actually going to be on its way for the plains and for the west. It's going to happen eventually. All right, here's the longer range 6 to 10 day temperatures. Yeah, again, hot in the center part of the country for this time of year, cool on the east. And then for the precipitation, increasing chances of precipitation for the northwest, going into the Rockies and even a little bit out into the plains. And then the drier stuff moves further east. Now let's go through next week on our temperature anomalies, because as we just go through these, I'll go through this slower, but here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you see all that warm air moving back into the plains. Oops, I went too far. So, this is the end of the weekend. We're cooling off here in the Midwest. and for the Great Lakes and for the East. Monday is going to be quite cool. And then Tuesday, very cool for mid-Atlantic, northward into the Great Lakes. Wednesday, starting to heat up again in the plains. Thursday, really hot in the plains, but that northwest cool is coming. And then Friday, what a big temperature difference between South Dakota, Nebraska, and Wyoming. So it's like very stark differences. And then Saturday, that cold air starts to replace the warm into the plains. And by Sunday, the 21st, we have cold air all the way down into parts of South Texas. Relatively cold. So, that's our trend. So I kind of like this. Kind of like this a lot. So where you haven't had fall yet, expect some fall. I'm thinking of you, Desert Southwest. How about temperatures actually below average by next weekend? That would be a change. That would be nice. All right. So we'll keep you posted as we get closer and things come into better focus, of course. So that's a look at your forecast, not through just this weekend, but next weekend too. And we'll keep you posted as we go right here on the Weather Mic.